But you seem to have been kind of steamrolling yourself into a mess, right? Because this is how you come over in the book. But that was from alcohol as well, and you had to go into the Betty Ford Hospital, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
That was presumably...
Not hospital, it's the centre.
Right. Now, that was because of alcoholism rather than obesity?
It had nothing to do with obesity.
No.
It had totally to do with addiction, alcohol and pills. Mm. And they advise you when you're there not to stop smoking, not to try and give up caffeine, not to diet, not to even think about it. Mm. You're there for one reason, and you concentrate on that 100%. And it's hard enough to get over that. You have to give it your all, and you go through a whole process of peeling layers of guck to get down to why did I become this mess.
Do you know why?
Oh, I learned there many things. I'm not going into them. Then when I cleaned my inside act up, and I felt so wonderful and energetic and good about myself, that's when I decided that I was wearing the wrong slipcover, and I wanted the exterior to match the interior.
You know, when you decided to go into Betty Ford, in your book you imply that it was partly pressure from your family. Is that right?
And family intervention.
Yeah. What does that mean? Do you mean they actually said to you, you should do it?
They come and see you. It's called tough love. And they tell you things you've done, things they've seen, some of your behavior. And they preface it by saying, I love you very much, but I have to tell you this, that. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I don't want you to die, and the way you're going, you will.
So kind of
and
like...
it's astonishing. It's absolutely terrifying. And you listen, and it goes around the room. And finally I said to them, would you just leave me alone for a couple of hours? I have to make it my decision, because if it isn't mine, if it isn't my decision to go and do this, it won't last. It won't have any effect on me.
Did they come to see you then because of advice from, say, a doctor or something like that? I mean, did they do that on their own accord, or were they asked to do that?
No, they got together and just said, Mom's in trouble.
And then faced you with a lot of home truths. I mean, could you at that moment, with your addiction still strong, could you at that moment take it in and accept that they are probably telling you the truth about yourself?
Oh, I knew they were telling the truth.
Well, did you have a great character change, for instance?
Then and there?
Yes, no. But before, were you going through a very bad patch? Like often alcohol.
Oh, I was
makes
at the bottom.
Yeah.
Everything that had started, and obesity was part of it. I was really in the pits.
But when did you start to get into real danger with booze then? Because a lot of people drink and be merry, and nothing happens, does
I have always been able to consume enormous amounts of booze and never get drunk. It would be when I'd go home and take my sleeping pills on top of the booze that I'd walk into walls. And that's when my children would have to pick me up off of the floor and put me into bed. And when I'd hear things like that, I was appalled and riddled with such awful guilt that I'd done that to my children. I was devastated.
When you then went into Betty Ford, that was voluntary, obviously. And then were you able to... Was it a group therapy you did?
Yes.
Yeah. It must have been very odd for people to do group therapy with you, because you're so famous. It can't be everybody famous there, can they?
I was the first celebrity ever to have done it.
Yeah.
Except Betty Ford, of course, who did it at the Naval Center in Long Beach. But I was the first celebrity to ever go to the Betty Ford Center, and they tell me, didn't quite know how to deal with me. And my peers had to pretend that it was just sort of Jane Schmo, and they were very awkward at first, and I didn't quite know what to do, because I just wanted to disappear and be unobtrusive and kind of get mixed up in the woodwork. But within a day or 2 days, I realized that we were all in the same boat. we were there for one reason, to save our lives. And that we were all in trouble, and we all shared this common bond. And we all became such close friends. We leaned on each other and we helped each other.
Did you find out anything in common with you all? Was there one thing? I mean, I've always wanted to find out about alcoholics, because it seemed to me that there's always the personality seems to be under some kind of stress. They have no self-esteem, or very low self-esteem. I mean, did that seem to apply to the people that you met in that centre?
Oh, yes.
Well, where do you think yours derives from? The
Well,
most beautiful woman in the world.
I try and talk about it in the book. I mean,
Yes.
the weight is part of the loss of self-esteem, the alcoholism. All of it was the seeking oblivion in taking the pills, seeking obscurity by becoming obese, really wishing that the press would just leave me alone. I wanted to disappear.
I wonder why you wanted to disappear when you got so
I
much.
think I was so unhappy, and I didn't want to be observed licking my wounds. And I couldn't quite figure out how to change my life. John was doing what he had to do. John was doing the right thing. I found myself stuck in a marriage where I really could make no contribution, I felt. I had no children to help raise. I had no house to run. The housekeeper and the maid had been there for 18 years. I couldn't be a hostess because he was never there. There was really nothing for me to do as a wife. He would come home and say, Pooters, I've got so much work to do. Why don't you go upstairs and watch TV while I work on these papers that I have to have ready by tomorrow? So we never even talked anymore. And I just felt totally redundant.
I'm sure, in fact, I mean, it's the kind of crisis that a lot of women go through. Just
But
about.
for someone who's been active since the age 9, I went into shock. I didn't know how to handle it.
But I think people who just bring up their children and, maybe not even worked very hard in their lives except by bringing up their family, I think they can suddenly find themselves feeling redundant. I think however busy you've been, however important you are, that thing, that midlife crisis, whatever it is, hits you in such a strange way, I think. And then you're down rather than up. I mean, I
And yet now, I find life so exciting. It's like so adventurous. There's so many things to do. There's so many things to learn. And I'm doing that now. If I want to go someplace, I go. If there's something I want to study, I'll study it now. I have the time. I'm not under any obligation to anyone but myself. Unto thine own self be true. That's all I have to do.
But why do you think, I mean, it's still odd, isn't it, that you must have, at just before all this happened to you, you were, to a lot of people, you had everything, you had looks, you had money, you had fame, you had, children, all right, they were grown up, but you didn't seem to be able to, at that time, face up to yourself. I mean, that was the odd part, wasn't it? You didn't seem to want time. You couldn't take it on anyway.
Well, no, and I was tied to Washington, which is a very odd city. I would think it's probably the loneliest city in the world. It's very difficult to make friends there. I had no chums. And, the party moves and changes practically every 4 years. So you see the for rent and for sale signs going up every 4 years. And the Democrats move out, the Republicans move in, or, it's forever changing. It's the most temporary city, temporary residence in the world. There is no feeling of roots there. There can't be, because nobody's there for more than 8 years.
But say when you lived in Hollywood, would there have been roots there?
God, yes,
yeah.
people live and die there.
Yeah, but I mean, it always strikes you as a sort of glamorous place where it would be very hard to find roots as such.
No, that's
No.
not true. I've known people that, really have families, homes, and Hollywood is their home. Washington also is only one topic. Hollywood now is all over the world. Hollywood is not just in California. So you can have a very large, diversified group of friends. They can be in politics, they can be in business. I have a lot of friends in music. I have very few friends, actually, in show business, but I have a lot of friends in business and other worlds.
When you say the sort of world is opening up for you, and it is yours if you wanted to know whatever you want to do, well, does that mean you'll go back to work in films? Does it mean you'll act? Or do you mean you're going to find out new things about yourself?
Both.
Yes.
I've done 2 films this year. I've written a book. I've created a perfume. I've been busy.
When you say that you found out things about yourself, are there any you wish to talk about? The thing that sort of, because I think it's sometimes it's important to know just exactly what it was that somebody found out about themselves that had been the stumbling block, the thing that had actually pushed you down rather than helped you up.
No, I don't want to get too specific.
No.
It's like I don't have to name the particular pain or the particular moment. The reason I even get into that is because I think that most obese people are unhappy. I think they pain. I think they suffer. And if they can find the hurt that is indigenous to them and take it out and look at it and analyze it and try and understand it and why, the why of it, and to go about changing it and trying to correct it, but to look at it is the main thing.
If you say that obese people are always unhappy.
I don't say always.
Always.
And I'm not saying everybody should be thin.
No, I was just going to say.
I don't think I'm not trying to say that there should be a generation of size 6s or 8s or 10s. If you're a size 14 and happy, that's great. I'm talking about if you're a size 14 and unhappy with that and want to do something about it but don't know how. People have come up to me. The reason I wrote the book, so many people came up to me and said, "Oh, God, how did you do it? I've been trying for years." So I thought, well, I've tried fat farms, I've tried fat diets. It's never worked. So I'll write down how I did it. And I hope that it will help a few people out there.
Do you feel that a strain now, though, that you're going to have to maintain it, or do you just feel quite relaxed in yourself?
Oh, no, it's no strain at all. I had to put on 10 pounds for the last film. And I'm in the middle of losing that, so I'm dieting at the moment.
So you're not hankering after lots of chockies and things like that, you don't mean?
No, and I have the confidence, because I've done it, to know that I will lose the weight.
Aside from the fact, this is a personal question from me, aside from the fact that you loved Richard Burton very dearly, why did you love Wales so much, which is where I come from?
Well, I know Pontry de Ven the best. Of course, mainly because of Richard's family.
Yeah, that's where my sister lived too.
And I love the way it's sort of nestled in the mountains. And the people. The people are so wonderful.
Could they treat you as Elizabeth rather than Elizabeth Taylor, the movie star?
Oh, they do.
Yes.
When I come down there, they
Yeah.
sing Welcome Home to the Valleys to me, and it makes me just weep. I feel they have made me feel Welsh, and actually I plan on being buried there.
Really? What, in Pontry de Ven?
Richard bought 2 plots years and years and years ago, 25 years ago. And since he's buried in Switzerland, I thought a part of him could be buried there, and that part of him that's in me can still be buried in Wales.
Well, I think that's absolutely wonderful. I mean, and that is because of feeling that sort of unity with him and Wales that you want to do that. Well, I'd like to wish you a very happy new life as the new Elizabeth Taylor.
Thank you. I'm having a great time.